Thank you. And as Yellow mentioned, I am from the US, specifically Western New York, about an hour from Niagara Falls. And I previously worked with Stux, and I'm a full stack developer, project manager, mentor, a little bit of everything. And I come from a medical background in the pharma industry. And so I love helping people, and I want to combine that with technology. I'm not a nurse, but I do like helping people in other ways. But so today I'm going to talk to you about, does anyone want to guess what it is? Yeah, well, he already mentioned it, but serverless. And so there are some, a little bit of mixed views on serverless, but we'll see where it goes. So as I mentioned, who here has worked with serverless or any sort of part of serverless at all? Okay. Well, as you can see, it's a little bit contrived, the name. And if you've watched any, videos or talks before on serverless, they may give an explanation of, obviously there are servers involved. And so they should probably come up with a new name at some point. But here we are. And so, there is also a framework called serverless, which can be quite confusing. But basically, it is hopefully not an existential crisis. They aren't hopefully lost, but and not in disguise. But we'll get there. So what is meant by serverless? A textbook definition, it could be cloud computing execution models. But if you dive into it a little bit deeper, you could see that you're not going to be provisioning or managing any of these servers or infrastructure by yourself. You're going to be worrying about taking care of, sorry, I'm a little nervous. This is my first talk ever, so bear with me. And I'm just going to take a deep breath and get my brain cells back. So basically, you get to worry about all the things that a developer gets to worry about, but you don't have to worry about maintaining anything in the server realm. It's one thing I think is really great is I struggled with this at first. Is I wanted to learn more about AWS, but at first at the time I was interested in AWS Chime and I wanted to try it out, and I incurred a hefty bill personally, and I was just messing around, but it's the truth. Like, there's a lot of people out there that want to learn about AWS technologies or services, but it's like they probably have heard about the cost impact or things like that. And well, hopefully I can give you a few tips along the way, but there are ways that you can do it even completely offline. Like, you don't even need to connect out to AWS to run on, basically connect to your billing services at all. And so there's also a lot more than just AWS, of course. There's a lot more that goes into it. So as we see here as well, the pricing is based on usage more so than being charged for unused provisioned resources. This is partially true. Basically AWS wants to charge you for everything, but in the short term, it's when you're not using it, there should be little to no charge or impact, basically. So I kind of skipped over a little bit, but let me just go back. Sorry. Having a moment. I'm sorry. Let me just Okay, it's fine. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I failed my public speaking class once, by the way. So yeah. So if I haven't already, given you a good idea of what serverless is, it's long story short is there are a bunch of services that you can use where all of the servers, the infrastructure, the provisioning is all done for you. You don't have to worry about that, and everything is abstracted away. So we'll move on. And okay, so what problem are we trying to solve today? Because most of the time, some people, may question why serverless? Why not just do what we have been doing? Like, why would we go with that? Why would we choose to start using lambdas or step functions or serverless databases or whatnot? Why not just go with anything else? And so, there are pros and cons to both sides. Obviously, scalability. Let's say you have a ticketing platform or something of that sort. You all of a sudden say you're launching tickets at 8 a.m. and you have a high influx of customers. You're going to want to scale up really quickly, but then afternoon comes rolling around and you're not going to need that anymore. So let's say you do this every week. That's, a good use case. But let's say you have, I don't know, we could take the ticketing as well. Like you have a service that when people are at a concert or just something that is used all the time, something that is always has a high influx of traffic. That is not the use case for serverless. That's not something you want to go with. You're going to end up paying way more than what you need to. You're going to it's just not the right infrastructure for you to use. So serverless is really great, and it solves the problem of, event-based triggers, when you want to scale up quickly and down quickly. Let's say you want to use microservices. You want to basically, sorry, this is rough. I forgot. So, yes. One thing that I found to be really nice is that, in this day and age, we are using a lot of different servers. We're using a lot of different technologies, and we're also trying to, help our planet and everything else. It's a long shot, but this does reduce waste, and, it does hopefully save you, if you set it up right, money in the long run. So, or even in the short run. It also encourages you to break out of what you are used to developing. It encourages you to learn about the different tools, not only with AWS, but, just beyond AWS, beyond any service provider. Learn about the techniques, learn about the core fundamentals of what makes up serverless. And it can be cost efficient if you do it right. It can also be way more expensive, but it can also force you to learn about security best practices in a different way. It also aligns well with agile methods, and it allows you to do frequent releases, adapt with planning, and have continuous feedback. You can also, let's see, I'm sorry. This also allows you to promote decoupling of components and building more modular services. So one of, he's an engineer, but also an overall great guy that I've read a lot of his work, is Jan, and he says there is no practice that is inherently best for all situations. And that really hits home when you think about serverless and many other areas of development, because, you know, everyone can have their own point of view, but it's the situation. A lot goes into what choice you make for your solution. And on the left-hand side here, I kind of have categorized some tools that I have used, some of them, but they're available to use, which involve either setting up serverless architectures, basically from top to bottom. Top being the most you're not going to need much experience at all to even set this up. You could probably set it up in less than 5 minutes and get an application running. And same goes with serverless. Should probably be on the next one down, but serverless is still pretty simple to set up, and it is great to learn about serverless. And so Chalice is kind of specifically for Python. It's an AWS high-level. It basically brings all their tools together to develop and create serverless applications. It's kind of on its way out, but it's still really good to use to learn about different techniques. And I, at my current work, use serverless framework. I work for a life science company based out of Western New York that has an autism telehealth application. And we deal a lot with eye tracking software and to basically diagnose children with autism or not and see their risks associated with that. And we also have an application which has a similar workflow as what I spoke about in the beginning, where we have these moments, like 2 times in a day, where all of a sudden there's a lot of traffic in our system, and so we use serverless products for everything, and serverless techniques and services. And so for our use case, it works out quite well. Coming back down, AWS SAM is a super great tool to use just to get started, to learn more about the technology. I won't go through the other ones, but they were just showing like the level of basically oversight that you need to have in order to develop these. And I just want to point out a couple more of these. AWS CDK is really great. I've only messed around with it a little bit, but it allows you it gives you the building blocks to build the way you want without all this overhead, basically. And it's super useful. It involves a bit of a learning curve, but if you want to build out a serverless system, but you don't want to, have all this stuff associated with it, serverless framework or however, it allows you to go and do that. The few at the bottom, these are kind of separate from the top 3. Xata is a serverless database. They just kind of started out recently, And I have used it the last couple months, and it's really great also to, when you're just starting out, you want to learn, and it allows you to just get started and not have to worry about setting up your AWS Aurora or DynamoDBs or whatever you want. And so the AWS SDK, they have one for Python as well. And the one at the bottom, Power Tools, it's kind of another package, and it comes with some really great utilities to also use. I would check it out. So let's see here. I want to see my screen. Okay. So speaking of AWS SAM, serverless application model, I believe that's what it stands for. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is. I'm going to just walk you through a simple workflow. So I want you to just kind of use your imagination when we go through this. And but first I want to show you how easy it is to get started with just a simple project. And basically, you just have to run these commands, and you can set up a Hello World application as easy as that. And so there's also some other examples as well. But the example I want to walk you through is, let's say you have, we'll say it's a space expedition, and you are preparing some cadets to go on a flight or space travel, whatever you want to call it. And you need them to fill out an intake form, let's say. And so that's great. You have your intake form somewhere on we'll say it's served somewhere. Maybe it's sent to them. And, as a cadet, I fill out this form. I upload an image. Maybe I have to take my vitals or something, take my temperature so they know how my health is for this voyage. So after you're finished with this intake, what can happen is basically you can send that off to API Gateway, which is basically AWS's REST API. And once there, you can do you can do numerous things with that. But for this example that I have on the screen, maybe we want to process that intake form, and so we have a Lambda function where we take that cadet information. We want to basically take in the basic information that they submitted. We maybe want to process their image that they also submitted. Maybe we want to put their vitals in a database. Or maybe they had to submit a large CSV of their records, their work records, or who knows. So you can do a few things with this. So let's say we're at this Lambda function. Let's say we want to do those three things. We want to process their basic information. We want to upload their photo. And, we want to, maybe we want to send a text out to them to let them know that we finished with their application. So from here, we can actually use what's called maybe a step function. And it's another AWS service, serverless service, which allows you to basically abstract this out into multiple steps. So let's say when abstracting this out, we first process the basic information form. And let's say we cannot process the image until that basic information form is complete. So that's what step functions are super great for. You want these broken out into steps. Let's say the image processing fails. you don't want, like maybe you don't want the process to continue, or maybe you want to restart it where it left off. AWS, you can also go in and specify, oh, hey, I want to rerun actually from where this left off. I don't want to rerun everything. Sorry, I'm using someone else's laptop right now, so it's a little choppy. We'll try to go back to here. And so, where was I? So there are also a few other things you can do. So speaking of sending a text out for confirmation, Amazon also provides the SNS service, which allows you to send out messages how you wish. And so all of this is built in, and you can actually, AWS SAM, you can so easily set this up. You could set up all of the things I mentioned probably in less than 10 minutes. And one thing that's really great that I discovered more so recently is AWS has an application composer, which allows you to basically just drag and drop these building blocks, put in your basic information about your application. You might need some keys or something of the sort. And once you have drop those in there, you can go over to the templates and literally take that, put it into your SAM application, and start it up. And it's super, super nice, and it's also nice to visualize as well. I think that's one other point I wanted to mention is if you're interested in running this locally, let's say you have, we'll just say like you have a fast API application running locally, and you want to try, maybe you want to try out this example. You want to run, let's say you just want to run your Lambda function to see if how it's doing. You can actually start up the local API, and you can run your Lambda function, and it's see the output, see the logging, and it's easy to debug and easier than trying to deploy it, test it, see if it works in dev, and so on. So speaking of configuration, the template that I explained in the previous slide, the one that you can get basically from that upper right-hand corner templates, where you will use it in your application, template.yaml. I just want to touch on this briefly, that although there are these varying frameworks, serverless frameworks, there's numerous. They all have their own configuration options, things like that. There's probably a bunch I haven't even listed on here that are coming out as well. They all come down to these steps when you write your configuration file. They're all going to have these points, give or take a few in there in one way or another. And so it's not a huge matter of learning this specific framework. It's just learning the concepts behind it. Learning, you're going to need permissions. You're going to need access. You're going to need keys. You're going to need, IAM access as well. It's learning the core of it all rather than the framework itself. So I had mentioned it previously, but Xata, they call it a serverless database. Again, take that with a grain of salt, but it uses Aurora, AWS Aurora database under the hood, but it also uses S3, and hopefully you're familiar with those, I'm sure you are, and a few other technologies as well. But the thing that I think is so cool about this is currently at my work, we do a ton of S3 processing, and same with Lambdas as well. And so let's say, you just want to test something out maybe you're learning a new concept, or you're just learning a new technology or things like that. Maybe you want to just test out your application, or and you don't want to spin up a whole database. But you do maybe want to test it in a way that is more on a production level. So what is nice about Xata is you can drag or you can drop images or documents directly into the table itself, and then they abstract that away into S3. So, which is pretty cool, I think, because if you've worked with S3, it's very useful. And but this is nice for it's pretty nice tool for on a higher level where you might have a business team, you might have maybe some, you just don't want to deal with the database side of things. You just want it to work. You want to upload some documents. You want to maybe process some images, and you want them to be included in each table record as well. And so that is pretty useful, I think. And it also allows you to search directly in the table itself. And there's also a free tier right now as well. Hopefully that lasts, and which you can mess around with it. It's I'd say give it a try, because I definitely enjoyed it. And they do offer a bunch of Python extensions as well. And let's see. Yes. Oh, okay. I'll try to hurry up. And so coming back to here, this is just showing Xata, and coming back to my example, you can, let's say we have that cadet image, we have all this cadet information, we can just throw that in here, and we have all of that ready to go. And let's see. So, did I miss anything? And so I may have forgotten a few things, but that's okay. And so I will wrap this up, and I hope that you might be able to try out a few of these technologies and give it a go. It's pretty easy to get started, and just learn about the different processes and workflows. So yeah, thank you.